So keto is a term to describe metabolic state of ketosis, the burning of fat and ketones for energy, or the pursuit of becoming fat and keto adapted by making ketones in your liver. So ketones, ketone bodies, are made in the liver as a byproduct of fat metabolism under certain circumstances, which is when dietary carbohydrate intake is extremely low, when the liver glycogen levels are low, and when your insulin level is low. So in this instance, when your body is mostly burning fat for energy, which is really by default, our default human factory setting to be fat burning beasts, we are using fat as our main source of energy, not only from dietary but also from body storage whenever we need it. So when we're burning a lot of fat, we're consuming very little carbohydrates. The liver, during the fat oxidation process, will make those energy rich byproducts called ketones. The reason the liver makes ketones is because they burn in the body just like glucose, and there are certain needs in the body that can only be met by either glucose or the glucose-like substitute of ketones. And that's very true for especially the brain, which is a huge energy demand organ. Our brain burns about 20 to 25% of our daily calories, although it's only like 5% of our weight. So the brain is burning a ton of daily calories, and it can only burn glucose. It cannot burn fatty acids. It doesn't burn proteins. So when you don't have carbs from the diet, you're going to make a little bit of carbs under all circumstances through gluconeogenesis, and that also occurs in the liver. But you also make a lot of ketones when you become fat and keto adapted. So during a period of starvation, like extreme calorie restriction, which kind of represent our evolutionary past as humans, until recent modern times of high carb intakes. When you're restricting carbohydrate intake under 50 grams per day, you start kicking into ketosis or enter a ketones burning state. The muscles can also burn ketones, but the muscles prefer eventually to be good at burning fat. Therefore, the ketones that you're making in your liver are preserved for use by the brain, so the brain has a constant stream of energy. Usually, we get this from glucose, from dietary carbohydrates, and that is why when you miss a single meal and you're carbohydrate dependent, you start to feel a little of a foggy brain, because it always burns a lot of calories, but it can only burn glucose or ketones. So as you can understand, it's very difficult to get into this ketone burning state, so you have to be starving. You can do some extreme exercises and you'll get into that ketone burning state for a while, but as soon as you consume even a modest amount of carbohydrates, your body just starts, it quickly like shuts off, it shuts off all the ketone burnings because it doesn't need to do it. It has those carbs to fuel, and carbohydrates are very quick and easy to burn. Unfortunately, carbohydrates also burn dirty. They produce a lot of reactive oxygen species called free radicals just in the burning of the carbohydrates. So it has an inflammatory effect on the body, and it produces a lot of oxidative stress in the bloodstream. So burning carbohydrates, it's kind of like a cheap low octane gasoline in a crappy engine, spewing the black smoke out of the exhaust pipe. Basically, that's kind of like the idea. In contrast, when you make ketones internally and you burn them, they burn very, very cleanly. They have a profound anti-inflammatory effect just for burning ketones. So it's the optimal state of functioning for the body to be in this fat and keto adapted state. Now, why is that? Well, it's really because when we're starving, we're in a fasted state. The body optimizes all kind of metabolic and immune functioning because we're perceiving that as a life or death matter. So when we don't have enough calories, we have to become more efficient with the calories that we do have. So imagine, consuming an external source of carbohydrates. Let's say you're eating an ice cream cone and you eat 100 grams of carbohydrates in that ice cream. What you're trading for is really being able to burn stored body fat at 9 calories a gram and internally manufacturing ketones at 5 calories per gram. So you're burning 14 calories that you access internally as opposed to 4 calories per gram when you're burning carbohydrates. Again, you're shutting off ketone productions in your body as soon as you eat even modest amount of carbohydrates. So the goal of becoming fat and keto adapted, it's really to live in that state where you're spending long periods of time consuming low carbs, moderate proteins, and high fats. So you can be in an extremely efficient, optimal, metabolically functioning state. Your immune system also works way better. Your fat metabolism is boosted. Your oxidative stress is greatly reduced in comparison to being in a high carb eating pattern. And you're promoting longevity because your cells become more efficient when you're in a fat and keto adapted state. Your cells also repair more efficiently. This is what's called autophagy. You also experience apoptosis, which is the spontaneous destruction of unwanted or dysfunctional cells. And when you're not good at that, that sets the stage for cancerous cells to proliferate. And also when you're in this high carb pattern, you promote accelerated cell division, which is really the essence of the aging process as opposed to enhanced cellular repair and autophagy, as I was talking about, when you're in this fat and ketones burning state. So when you're in a high carb state, you're constantly eating meals to support energy because you can't access and burn stored energy. You're not making ketones. Your body fat access is basically shut off because you have high insulin levels from the repeated bouts of carb meals. So what happens is you're accelerating cell divisions, you're accelerating the aging process, you're producing a lot of oxidative stress in the body because of the mere burning of this dirty fuel source of carbohydrates. And in the same time, you're promoting systemic inflammation. So if you haven't heard of that term before, it's kind of a bad deal. Systemic inflammation, system-wide inflammation or chronic inflammation, as you probably heard it, it's believed now to be the root cause of almost all forms of diseases in the body. The chronic inflammatory response is kind of like a way to combat what we perceive to be a health threat. And eating a high carbohydrate grain-based eating pattern is a constant threat to our bodies because of the inflammatory effect and the oxidative stress. So when you eventually ditch carbohydrate dependency and transition over to a fat and keto adapted eating pattern, you are getting this amazing anti-aging peak performance, weight loss, cognitive improvement, drug-like benefit from the burning fat, and ketones. It's really exciting stuff, and I want you to understand the importance it has on your overall health. And we're going to talk about weight loss and how great it is to drop that excess body fat. But I have lost 40 pounds in less than 6 months on keto, and it has completely transformed my life in and out. No more calories in, calories out, no more stressful exercises, no more portion control, eating pattern. It is critical to general health as well as it enhances cellular function at all times. That is absolutely amazing.